Chapter 2. The Sorting Hat Kinda Gets Borked. The staff handed out bowls of lettuce, and the three of them ate a light lunch that was very bland. Later on, there was a message over the speaker system. "We'll be arriving in Hogsmeade Station shortly." "Great!" Hermione exclaimed. Harry started to frown. "The train ride is almost over? I thought there'd be hot chocolate." He looked out the window and saw the thick forest start thinning. Ahead there was a tall building made of stone. It must be a castle, since it had many tall towers and a moat. When they got closer and the forest finally stopped, the speaker said, "Welcome to Hogsmeade Station." The train stopped and the doors opened. After traveling down a long road, they all got on boats and crossed the large moat. Harry and Ron wanted to see if there were alligators, but Hermione reminded them that dangerous reptiles that live in moats would probably break some kind of school safety policy. They got off the boats and a mass of people formed and moved into the building. Harry, Hermione, and Ron were mixed into the large group. They didn't know where they were going, but they hoped the people in the front did. The group was most condensed around the doors as everyone tried to get into the building. The group of people kept moving until they approached a staircase and witnessed an old man with a long, silvery beard tumbling down the stairs. They were worried about the man, but he seemed to be fine. He stood up again and climbed the stairs. They passed by him, and moments later they heard him fall down the stairs again. "That poor person," Hermione said. The large group of people were led into a cafeteria. "What a great hall!" someone in the crowd exclaimed as everyone looked around the large room in awe. Many older students were already sitting at the 4 long tables. When everyone was in the room, a tall, thin man called for their attention. "Hello! Welcome, everyone! My name is Hat, but everyone calls me the Sorting Hat. I will be telling you what house you'll be in." Everyone studying biology knew they would go to Slytherin, but there are 3 other houses: Hufflepuff, Gryffindor, and Ravenclaw. The Sorting Hat continued to talk about the different houses. "What house do you guys want to go to?" Ron asked quietly. "The one with the most trouble and crime for me to solve, citizen." "Trouble and crime? Sounds like a great place to spread my drug usage message." "What about you, Mud?" Harry asked. "Okay, for the last time, stop calling me Mud. Would you rather have me call you Klepto? How about you call me by my name?" "I can't. I don't know your name." "You don't know my name? You never introduced yourself." "You have got to be kidding me." The Sorting Hat started talking again. "I will begin the sorting!" His loud voice boomed. One by one, the new students were sorted throughout the 4 houses. The Sorting Hat then called Ron. "Sup?" Ron said as he sat down on the stool. "Yes, I know that you have siblings at Hogwarts," the Sorting Hat said. Ron's eyes widened. "Wow, you must have magic that makes you know everything." "Or he just read your file," Hermione said under her breath. "You will be placed in Gryffindor." Ron went to sit at the Gryffindor table. Once Hermione was called, she went to sit on the stool. She quietly waited as the Sorting Hat waved his hands around. Harry watched as Hermione gave a small note to the Sorting Hat. He stopped waving his hands so that he could read the small scrap of paper. "I see. You will live in Gryffindor as well." Hermione smiled and stood up. She sat down with the other Gryffindors at the table. Harry was wondering what the note said as the Sorting Hat called him to the stool. "And you will go too." Now thinking of his own placement, Harry interrupted Hat. "Citizen, I'd like to remind you that I do not like biology, so I would not be a good fit in Slytherin," Harry informed. Okay, you'll be going to— "Just to clarify, I know that I shouldn't go to Slytherin." "Well, I am the Sorting Hat, so I know where you should go." "Yes, and so do I. I shouldn't go to Slytherin." "I don't know, I think you'd be right at home there." "That's ridiculous. I am Harry Potter, the protector of Hogwarts. I will not go to Slytherin." "Can you just let me tell you what house you're going to?" "As long as it's not Slytherin." "Gryffindor," the Sorting Hat huffed. Harry was happy with his placement. He'll be with his 2 new friends, Ron and Mud. The Sorting Hat looked around the room at all the remaining students. "There are way too many of you," he muttered. He then started walking around the room, tapping people on the head and telling them what house they'd be in. It made the process go a lot faster. When everyone knew what house they would be going to, the Sorting Hat walked out of the room. They started thinking he was supposed to continue since no one else started talking. They were given no directions and sat with their houses. Soon, someone else came into the room. He was the one who kept falling down the stairs. "Hello, students. My name is Albus Dumbledore. I am the headmaster of this school. This year is the 20th anniversary of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry having been established. Throughout the years, we have strived to improve in every way. We have achieved an incredible staff and education system. You will all be well taken care of here." He continued to talk about Hogwarts for a long time. When he finished, he told everyone to go to their houses. Harry, Ron, and Hermione went to Gryffindor Tower. Harry and Ron stopped at a painting just before the common room. Hermione noticed that they stopped and turned back to see what they were doing. "It's asking for a password," Harry said. "What is?" Hermione asked. "The painting! The painting of this lady," Ron answered. They stared at the painting as Hermione walked towards it. "What could the password be?" Harry asked. "What if the password changes?" Ron asked. "Why don't you ask the nice painting lady?" Hermione suggested sarcastically. "Of course! Dear wise painting citizen, what is your password?" Harry asked as Hermione muffled a laugh. "The password is abracadabra," Hermione answered, disguising her voice. Abracadabra! "Come on, let's go," Hermione nudged. As they walked into the common room, they noticed a group of students having a heated discussion. They looked like they had just sat down. A few of them had pet cages and they all had trunks. They must have stopped to continue a conversation they had been having on the way to Gryffindor Tower. The three couldn't help but be curious, so they stood out of sight and listened. "I'm just saying, cars are death traps. I'd rather take a train," someone said. "Accidents are really rare. Besides, how did you get to King's Cross Station? There aren't train stations on every corner." Someone else fumbled with a newspaper. "Here's why the accident was so bad. They hit a whomping willow. Nasty trees. One tap and they'll attack." "Their poor family," a quiet girl said. "I don't know," Harry whispered to Ron and Hermione. "Sometimes people lie and say someone died in a car crash when really they died by a magic death ray." After giving Harry confused looks, they went to their dormitories. Harry and Ron went to their room and discovered their bags had magically been delivered. Ron went to see if the painting's password changed since they were last there, while Harry started unpacking by putting Rock on his bedside table. "This will be your spot, Rock. Do you like it?" The Rock said nothing, and Harry continued to unpack his new Hogwarts clothes. As he filled the drawers, he spoke to his pet. "It's a lot different from home, but that's okay. As long as you're here, I'll be fine." Soon Ron returned. He started putting his drugs in his dresser. It seemed he brought little else. 3 other people lived in the dormitory. They walked in, but Harry thought they were uninteresting, so he ignored them. After they finished settling into their new rooms, they met up in the common room. This time they got a chance to view the area. It may as well have been a library. There were bookshelves everywhere. There were even sections for different types of books. Around the room, there were many tables for people to work at. There were also comfortable chairs and couches for people to sit in. In the middle of the room sat a small fireplace. The fire gave the room an orange tint and a cozy atmosphere. The walls were a golden brown color, and the windows were very tall. They decided to call the area in front of the fireplace their spot. Ron sat in a chair inhaling something while Hermione read some books about Hogwarts, and while Harry practiced spells, insisting he was doing well. Harry waved a twig at a pencil sitting on a wooden table. "Aha! That pencil levitated for a moment." "No, it didn't," Hermione said, not even looking up from her book. Ron put his drugs down and excitedly moved his arms around. "I saw it, Broseph." "You're not the best source," Hermione said. "Oh, and you are, Mud?" Harry asked. "Yes, I am. I'm the only one not running around saying that I'm a wizard." Harry looked puzzled. "But you are a wizard. How else did you get out of that magical cage I made?" "Because magic doesn't exist. I'm only here because everyone in my family once believed that they were wizards. They all went to Hogwarts, and they just sent me because they're so sure that I'll start thinking I'm a wizard." "Ah, Mud, that must be tough," Harry consoled. "What was that note you gave to the Sorting Hat?" "Oh, that? It was just a friendly warning informing him that bad things would happen if I ended up in Ravenclaw," Hermione answered kindly. "I understand why you wouldn't want to go to Slytherin, but why not Ravenclaw?" Hermione didn't answer, leaving an empty silence. After a few moments, Harry gave up on his question and filled the dead air with a question to Ron. "Don't you remember Dare?" "Dare? Lol, I dare you to sniff some drugs," Ron laughed. Harry was getting nowhere. Was Ron just unfixable? No, of course not. No one is unfixable. Everyone has potential. Harry wished he could believe the same for Ron. "Drugs are bad, citizen." "You can keep saying that, but it doesn't mean I'll believe it. Besides, why do you care?" He turned towards Hermione. "Do you care if I do drugs?" "Well, I think it's a stupid thing to do, but I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Just don't die or anything." "Geez, who are you, my mum?" "Fine, I'll try not to die." After a while, they went back to the cafeteria to eat dinner. They discovered a lot of food had been brought in. Many students were already eating, but the empty plates each had a white note. "Whoops, forgot about the feast. Enjoy. Albus Dumbledore." They sat down at the edge of the Gryffindor table and moved their notes. Then they started putting food on their plates. As they were eating, 2 identical red-haired boys walked over to their table. "Hey, Ron," one of them said. "Ah!" Harry screamed as he fell out of his chair and onto the floor. "Invasion of the Gingers! I knew this would happen!" One of them reached for Harry's hand. Harry backed away. No! I don't want your ginger plague! Red hair isn't... Hermione's voice trailed off as she looked at Harry, who was cowering against the wall. The gingers looked too amused by this. Contagious? I don't know, have you looked at our family? The other one asked. Harry, relax. These are my brothers, Fred and George, Ron said, pointing to each as he said their name. Oh, sorry, citizens. I'm Harry Potter and this is Mud. Hermione tried to protest. My name's not Mud, I'm trying to apologize. A third ginger approached the table. Harry fell back to the floor. We're not contagious, we're just Weasleys, the third redhead said. He looked at Ron. Still living a life of drugs? Still trying to get people to avoid them, Percy? Ron asked. As always, Percy answered. We'll see whose message gets across, Ron jabbed. Well, Fred and George are helping me, he said. Ron looked betrayed. Why are you helping him? Fred and George both seemed uncomfortable. It's just, you started doing drugs right after we left for Hogwarts, Fred said earnestly, a manner of speaking that Harry could tell was not normal for them. Fine, be that way. I've got the drugs that make people happy, Ron reminded. And we've got a name for our movement, Percy bragged. Ron lost his confidence. He had nothing to shoot back with. A name? Weasley's No Wheezes, he informed. Since Ron is Harry's friend, he's loyal to Ron. He tried to think of a way to help his friend. There was a short silence before Harry leaned in to whisper something in Ron's ear. The only thing he could think to say was the truth. That's a good name. Harry's words were just loud enough for Hermione to hear. As Harry drifted back to his normal sitting posture, Hermione leaned towards Ron's other ear to whisper something to him. No, it's not. We know the drugs mess with you, George said. Percy's snobby expression changed. That's why I started this whole thing. I thought if we could get other people to stop doing drugs, we could get you to stop. Yeah, well, I don't want to stop. In fact, I want you guys to join me in my drug revolution. That'll be my name, Drug Revolution, Ron declared. The three redheads walked away with frowns across their faces and their heads hung low. Harry looked confused. Wait a minute. Whose side should I be on? The gingers want Ron to stop doing drugs, and so do I. But I am loyal to my friends. These are the questions, Hermione answered, amused by Harry's confusion. Ron remained quiet. Ron, are you okay? Hermione asked, noticing his unusual silence. Huh? Yeah, I'm fine, he replied. I need some more drugs, he muttered. They finished with dinner and went back to the common room. Hermione continued to read, and Harry kept practicing spells. Ron ran around carrying books and pretending to fly. Hey, kids, you want to smoke some ice cream? He annoyed several people and then passed out for a while. When he woke up, he started laughing hysterically while trying to say the alphabet. Then he tried climbing a staircase, but kept falling down. Hey, look at me, I'm Dumbledore! Ron laughed. Coincidentally, he was trying to climb the staircase that led to the girls' dormitories. Why can't I climb the stairs? Ron asked, laughing slightly less. Hermione lifted her head from her book and thought for a moment with the top of her pen on her chin. That's because the founders of Hogwarts put a magical spell on the staircase, making it impossible for boys to climb the stairs to the girls' dormitories. Really? Harry asked, intrigued by the spell on the staircase. Oh, definitely, Hermione assured, trying not to laugh. They spent the rest of the day in the common room. Then they went to their dormitories to go to sleep. Harry led the way for Ron, since he was still laughing hysterically. Ron hopped over to his bed and immediately fell asleep. Harry said hi to Rock and then looked at the calendar. Today is Saturday. Classes start on Monday, he thought. He said goodnight to Rock and went to bed. The next morning, Harry woke up and looked at his desk to say good morning to Rock. Where are you, Rock? He jumped out of bed and looked all around the bedside table. Rock wasn't on the table, nor the floor, and he wasn't flying in the air. He looked all around the room for the gray rock. Ron, please tell me you know where Rock is, Harry said, shaking Ron awake. Too high to talk, Ron mumbled. Haven't you slept it off yet? Harry hissed. Not completely, he continued to mumble. Harry grumbled as he thought of what to do. Wait, the staircase, I can't climb it. They were set to meet up in the common room to go to breakfast, but there was still a bit of time before then. Harry tried to calm down and get dressed. He then shifted his attention to Ron. We've got to go to breakfast, Ron. Ron made some unintelligible noises, and the other three people started waking up. Harry went to the closet and started throwing some clothes at Ron. As he was leaving, he heard a squeak. Harry turned back and looked inside. He moved some things and discovered a rat in a box. Ah! There's a rat in the closet! Ron sat up. Yeah, I know. Why is there a rat in the closet? Ron stood up and walked to the small room. He pulled the chain on the light, and the closet became dark. He closed the door and looked at Harry. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Ron got ready and they walked to the common room. Hermione was already there, reading another book. "I thought we were going to be early, Mud," Harry said as Ron dropped onto a couch and tried to sleep. "I've been here for an hour. I was really early," Hermione said. Seriously? He could have immediately gone to the common room to talk to Hermione. "I have really bad news." Hermione flipped the page of her book and curiously glanced at Harry. "My pet rock, has gone missing," he lamented. "Its name is Rock?" Hermione asked. Ron stopped trying to sleep. "It should be called the Philosopher's Stone." "No, it should be called the Sorcerer's Stone," Hermione suggested. "What are you talking about?" Harry asked, preoccupied with his missing pet. "I need to find him." After hearing Harry continue to talk about the rock, Hermione lifted her head and kept her gaze on Harry. "You're really worried about a lost rock?" "Of course I am! I keep him on my desk and now he's just gone!" "I have heard about some recent thefts in the castle." "It's possible someone stole it," Ron suggested. Hermione moved the book's ribbon marker to the page she was on and closed the book. She put it on the table beside her and stood up. "I can't imagine why, but maybe someone will come forward if we put up some lost pet posters?" They made many flyers using paper and ink. On each paper they wrote in big letters, "Missing Rock." They also wrote Harry's contact information. None of them could afford to offer a reward, so the bottom of each flyer was blank. They couldn't put a lot of information on the papers anyway, since they were making them by hand and they needed a lot of posters. When they were satisfied with the amount of flyers, they started distributing them. They handed flyers to students and teachers. They hung the posters in hallways and rooms. As Harry was pinning a flyer to the bulletin board, he noticed another paper that had been previously pinned. "What's Squidditch?" Hermione gave a confused look before walking to the bulletin board to see what he was talking about. Harry pointed to the paper and Hermione promptly read it. She began to laugh. "That says Quidditch, not Squidditch." Harry continued to read the flyer. "Oh, it's a sport! My dad used to be the best player on the lacrosse team." Hermione continued to laugh. "Your dad was a jock? That makes a lot of sense." "I want to be on the Gryffindor Quidditch team." Hermione laughed harder. "You're going to be a jock? I'm going to sign up right now." "I hope you do well at Squidditch tryouts." Hermione laughed as she leaned against the wall for support. "It's not that funny, Mud." "But it is! I'm just picturing a wizard-themed sport where people ride around on broomsticks throwing balls through tall rings." Harry finished reading the flyer and seemed to be an expert on the basics. "You're forgetting about the most important part. Catching the golden snitch is worth 150 points. "I was guessing correctly?" "Except for leaving out the snitch, yes." Hermione started laughing again. She continued to chuckle as they put up the next several flyers. Soon the flyers were all gone and they were done. Hermione looked at the last paper they had hung up. She stepped away from the wall and looked around. "Where's Ron?" Harry looked around, noticing he was nowhere to be seen. "I have no idea." They walked through the halls looking for their friend. Eventually, they found him passed out on the floor of one of the hallways. "We were getting worried, citizen," Harry said to Ron. "They're not mine, I'm just holding them for a friend." Ron opened his eyes and saw Harry and Hermione. "Oh, it's you. Yeah, these are totally mine." Hermione sighed and shook her head. They helped Ron up and walked back to the common room. Hermione went back to her book, and Harry practiced his superhero poses. Ron inhaled more drugs and annoyed people.